Who is Bob Carter? Bob Carter is a voice actor, voice director, broadcaster, small business owner, and volunteer, deeply committed to making the world a better place and having fun while we do it. That's who Bob Carter is. And more importantly than that, Bob Carter is a father of three, husband, dog person, and cat person, if you ask my daughters.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Movement Radio. I am Chip Hazard.
And I am Talon Williams.
And I am Bob Carter.
I, he introduced himself. I was going to say we are joined by voice actor extraordinaire
Ooh.
Bob Carter. Bob, how are you this evening?
I am great, guys. Thank you very much for having me on. We've been trying to get this going for months now, so I really appreciate you inviting me on in the first place, and then staying with me until I could get an opportunity to jump on. So I'm excited to be here.
Yeah,
I've been waiting for this for a year.
We greatly appreciate you. You may not remember because you're so busy. You and I actually had the opportunity to meet 2 years ago in Rome, Georgia, at a convention called Con.
Yes.
And so that was I get to meet you and Ming Chen.
Yep, I was about to say Ming Chen, and who else was up there at the time? It was a great small little con.
It
and
really
was a lot
was
of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I joke about the fact that I went from Athens to Rome in a day, where I went from Athens, Georgia to Rome, Georgia.
Yes.
Yeah. But that was a fun weekend. Let's see, who else was up there? Matt Ashley. You know what? I got my new headshots up there.
Yes.
From a guy named Cubby. I want to say Eli Borges, and he did phenomenal. Took phenomenal pictures. And, man, I had a great time up there. It was a really good time.
Eli is amazing.
Absolutely.
So warm,
great,
genuine, funny.
Yeah.
He's helped me out so much in Meet, because I'm the photographer for Movement Radio, and it helps me. He's helped me so much with, like, this is where lighting is supposed to go. This is what your thing is supposed to look like. And I can never thank that man enough, man. He has been unbelievable. Him and his partner Jerry actually gave me this Gemini syndrome.
Really?
Yeah.
That's very cool.
They went to go see them perform, and I can't remember if it was in Knoxville or whatever, but they ended up getting two of these posters, and they said, "Hey, our buddy from Chattanooga, Talon, he's a big fan of you guys too. Can you guys autograph it?" And you can't see it, but it says to Talon, and then they autographed it for me. I thought that was just the dopest thing, you know.
Cool. That's
cool.
So
I got friends for life now, so I'm happy about that, you know.
So for those who don't know, who is Bob Carter?
Who is Bob Carter? Bob Carter is a voice actor, voice director, broadcaster, small business owner, and volunteer, deeply committed to making the world a better place and having fun while we do it. That's who Bob Carter is. And more importantly than that, Bob Carter is a father of three, husband, dog person, and cat person, if you ask my daughters. We have a full house.
Absolutely.
But I like to joke that I put the fun in dysfunctional, and the world is messed up. So I try to do what I can to make it a better place and motivate, educate, and empower. That's my formula. I try to live by that and do what I can to help people. And I like to say that I'm practicing what I preach, and I'm living my best creative life right now.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah. So Chip asked the question, who are you? I'm going to flip that and ask the question, who were you? Before you got into the voice acting, before everything happened, what was that initial spark that inspired you to want to become a voice actor or to get into the world of entertainment to begin with?
Well, if we're going to talk about the initial spark, I mean, come on, man. Growing up with cartoons, I joke that I've got the fastest imagination in the West, or in this case, east of the Mississippi. But in all seriousness, when I was a kid, I wanted to be the voice of Optimus Prime, right? I loved cartoons. I loved honestly, I didn't just love cartoons. I loved gaming. I'm a hardcore gamer. All right. So tabletop role playing games, that's my jam. And I didn't plan on becoming a voice actor. Actually, I I originally went to the Naval Academy to be the first man on Mars. Unfortunately, that did not happen. I got my kneecap knocked out of the socket playing football and came home and was got home too late to go to Georgia Tech, where I was supposed to go and become a mechanical engineer. I ended up coming home to Atlanta and going to Georgia State University. And the only thing I knew about GSU was that it had this really cool 100,000-watt radio station called Album 88. And that is what led me into broadcasting. And then at the same time, roughly while I was in college, I discovered improv comedy. And that was a lot of fun. So, like Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yes.
MTV's Wildin' Out. There's a bunch of different improv comedy shows now, but Dad's Garage in Atlanta, absolutely amazing. And George Lowe, Space Ghost, was, Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Yep.
Yes.
The radio station that I went to work at, he became Space Ghost. And when he left, they needed a production director for the radio station. Now, at the time, I had been making fake movie trailers for my D&D games back in the day with my best friends and my buddies and that kind of thing. And they just managed to find, now this is also, like back when everything was on a shared network, right? Well, it still happens to this day in business. Well, they found my audio clips and they roasted me like you would not believe. I mean, oh my gosh. To this day, my ears burn with some of those insults. It was funny. It really was funny. Hurt my feelings, but it was very funny. But in all seriousness,
we've all been there. We've all been there.
But they heard these fake movie trailers that I'd been making for my games, and they're like, this guy's actually got talent. So they gave me the opportunity, and I took it and ran with it. All the way to Dallas, where I was able to become a creative imaging director and actually be the voice of a station and then be on the air in the afternoons. Well, I was still into improv comedy. And when I got out to Dallas, I met some guys from a troupe called Section 8, Mike McFarland, Chris Rager, Josh Martin. You might have heard of those guys.
Yep.
And Mike actually invited me to do some Wallace sessions at Funimation. And then the rest is, as they say, history, sort of. I mean, obviously, every time I would go into audition, I would audition for that hero's role. And they'd say, yeah, that's great, Bob, but why don't you record for this? Or, yeah, that's great, Bob, but why don't you record for that? And it was always a monster or a villain or an enforcer or just some kind of a boss, right? And 9 times out of 10, I would not book that hero's role, but I would book the villain's role. And so that's where I started to accumulate those credits very quickly. And then when some of those actors from Dallas went out to LA, they knew what, when they needed a voice for a monster or needed a voice for a villain or needed a voice for whatever, they knew that they could call on me and I would genuinely provide whatever it was, So I auditioned against everybody in the country and I would absolutely get it. But that's, that in terms of who I was, that's who I was.
You think it's because you got that real deep voice, you think that's the reason why? Because they consider more of the bad guys to have that deep malice voice,
Yes, and especially in a lot of anime, the hero is always that underdog, right? So their voice tends to be, they're going to be the smaller guy that's got the higher pitched voice who's got to grow into their power, right? Whereas the villain, true power moves in its own time. They have all the power in the universe. They move where they want, when they want, as they want, right? So again, you can speak with that voice of authority or conviction and that sort of thing. Now, again, I still wanted to be a hero, but I mean, I was 50 something credits in and I finally was like, man, villains get the best dialogue, Again, I get to destroy people and just have a good time with it. But I did get my hero's role in Samurai 7, believe it or not. I was Gorbei Katayama, so I really enjoyed Samurai 7, really great series. And then the other really fun and interesting thing is that, a rising tide raises all ships, right? So every time I would go into the booth, I would also lose to Chris Sabat. So my voice is deep, but it's smoother. Whereas Chris, especially at the time, because, you know, back in the day, and I used to tell him all the time, stop smoking, Chris. And he finally did. But, you know, he had that great, strong, gravelly voice. But he became so successful when he opened up his studio. He couldn't be all the bad guys. So he needed other deep voiced guys. So I was one of those that he would call up. And again, you know, when you're a studio actor and you're working with these guys and you're working with these groups, that's the best part. You know, it's not just the one role, it's about that foundation of trust and respect and play, you know, and so that's a wonderful memory, a wonderful gift, and a wonderful blessing to still be able to have that.
Awesome.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
That's awesome.
One thing you mentioned is when you were growing up, you wanted to be the voice of Optimus Prime, and you just said that most villains have that real deep.
Right.
Optimus is the first hero I could remember with that deep kind
voice,
of
right? Because he had that deep commanding voice, but it was heroic. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so great.
And I've not thought about it until just now, but you would honestly make a great Optimus Prime. I mean, no offense, but Peter Cullen is
that's the greatest, without question. Even you say the name and I get chills. All right, you guys can see the chills on my arm, without question.
He will always be Optimus to me. And I know they're coming out with a new movie and they've recast Optimus and all that, but that's neither here nor there.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way with Kevin Conroy when it comes to Batman.
Right.
You know, like to me, that is Batman.
Yes,
you know?
He is Batman.
Well, and Mark Hamill is the Joker.
And Mark Hamill is the Joker.
Yes,
exactly. He's Luke Skywalker. No, he's the Joker.
He's the Joker.
But I digress. So you start doing all of these Wallace sessions, right? And when does that kind of break where you get an actual named character? When does that come and how does that feel?
That actually happened relatively quickly. Yu Yu Hakusho. Remember Yu Yu Hakusho back in the day?
Yes.
Rugby.
Yes.
Rugby was my first character. And then also Genzai of the colonies, Genzai of the 100 colonies in Lupin the Third. So those were my two first named characters. And then, like I said, you have these opportunities for different movies. And the really cool thing, you know, at first I was, like I said, I've been blessed in that my career has spanned. First of all, you know, sometimes you do one movie and you're done. Right. So to be able to go for now 24 years is pretty incredible. That kind of longevity, and then also like generationally, is exceptionally special. And I cherish that. I've been very fortunate that, especially once you start, you know, for anybody that does a deep dive into the series that I've recorded and played and things like that, I've gone from everything from, of course, you know, One Piece, Dory, you know, like the fun, silly, playful thing, but also to like the very serious stuff, right? Whether it was going to be like Samurai 7 or Licorice Recoil or Odd Taxi, which was an award-winning anime, or Tokyo 24th Ward. So I've done some deeper cuts of like more of the you know, not for everybody type stuff that's like really meaningful and deep thinking and stuff that's like cult classic stuff, you know. And then I've had the opportunity to be in some really hilarious stuff like Space Patrol Luluco, one of the funniest series I've ever done in my entire life. And that one starts off as a parody of so many other anime, but in that parody, it's brilliantly written. And then, of course, you know, everything from, like I said, Samurai 7, Dragon Ball, right? Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, being Bojack and Sin Shinron, two completely different badass characters. And then also, again, since we're talking generationally, of course I was Baraka and Shao Con from Mortal Kombat, Balrog from Street Fighter, Black Adam from Multiverses, Sig and Full Metal Alchemist, and then Chuck in Pokemon Masters, right? So I'm one of the trainers now. So like for the younger generations that don't know anything about the older stuff, you know, I'm still in there. I'm still coming back. So that's the part that's really cool that I've been blessed with.
You said you was a fan of D&D, but you've done so many different video game characters. I think that was you also a video game player growing up as well, or did you get into the video games a little bit later in life?
Yes, as a matter of fact, yeah, part of the reason why I was just so ready for Mortal Kombat. I blew my entire first paycheck I ever made working on Mortal Kombat. Back in the day, I went to this bowling alley on a Friday night. I just got my first paycheck after working at Turtles Music and Videos for 2 weeks, and I was all excited. I was tying on my bowling shoes and was going to have a good time. You know, it's Friday night, having a blast. When I heard that, "Come here, get over here," I was like, "What was that?" And there was this crowd of guys all standing around this video game over in the arcade area, and I walked, and then I saw Scorpion versus Raiden, and it was amazing, right? And then Scorpion won, right? And he rips off the helmet, and it's a skull, and he burns him to death. And then another guy comes in, and it's Sub-Zero versus Scorpion, right? And then you're watching all this stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the craziest thing ever. And you know, and I was like, well, how do I play? He's like, it's pay-per-view, baby, it's pay-per-view. So like, you know, like I ended up blowing $90 something. It was my first paycheck ever. It was cheap. But I blew my entire first paycheck playing that video game that weekend, and it was heavenly.
Yes.
Man. Yeah, I used to enjoy playing video games all the time. And then the sad part is, as we get older and as we start trying to create, and as we become a creative with a capital C, it's harder and harder to play the video games. So now a lot of times I will watch on YouTube, I'll watch the playthroughs, right? So I'm thoroughly enjoying that. I'm dying right now because I love Divinity 2. I love Baldur's Gate 3. I loved all the Assassin's Creed series. You know, all of them, even the not so well, I mean, 3 was my jam. 3 was absolutely my favorite. And then even like Libertad, which was a cool concept. And I just wish that Ubisoft had really like given that the budget that it needed to be successful. Anyway, long story short, I loved video games growing up, but more than video games, I loved tabletop role-playing games, because that is hanging out with your friends, right? That is like forging friendships from people from so many different walks of life, completely different socioeconomic statuses, completely different backgrounds, cultures, whatever. But, you know, we all come together at this table to play and to imagine and to create. And as a DM, as a long-time DM, now I'm a good player. I am very proud of the fact, well, now my players would never say this. They would say, oh, Bob's a cheater, and the DM's a cheater, and he's a jerk, and he's a dick, and blah, blah, blah. But my greatest accomplishment as a DM is the lifelong friendships that I have forged time and time and time again at the table. That is my greatest joy is role-playing games, because, again, personalities are revealed through gaming, right? You can see the essence of a person, how they are, if they're all about the team, if they're selfish, if they're all about themselves, if they're all about treasure, if they're all about backstabbing, if they're all about getting the mission done, right? So in terms of lawful versus chaotic, good versus evil, people's true personalities are revealed through gaming. I mean, they've even done studies like where war colleges started doing this, because, you know, back in the day, it was like lateral thinking skills, right? So again, your greatest drivers and creators in Hollywood and in industry today got their start as gamers and geeks and nerds playing D&D back in the day. And that's why Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro made that fatal mistake last year, and when they shot themselves in the foot, and they just did not understand the community that they had, the loyal, strong, successful community that they had, and they just destroyed and tarnished their image. And so, sadly, honestly, you know what? To their credit, I'm not going to be negative. To their credit, they made D&D open sourced. And so that was very smart, because it's always going to be a part of the conversation. It's always going to have a place at the table. And then, of course, It's always going to be one of those greatest drivers of creativity and imagination. So
yes.
Yes.
I love me some D&D.
yes.
So yep. I'm not particularly good at it, but I love it.
That's the important thing. As long as you're rule number one is we're here to have fun. If you're not having fun, then we have to change the game entirely. But rule number one, you want to have fun. Rule number two, story is what matters. So your backstory, telling your backstory, and then my backstory, we all blend that together to make an interesting tale of an adventure where we all accomplish our goals. And of course, we grow together, right? As opposed to growing apart. That's what matters. And then rule number three is, don't be a jerk. Right.
Right.
I have a distinct rule in my life. And it's, I will bring anybody into my world, but you can't be a dick.
No.
Yes. Amen to that.
I have a complete no dick rule. Like,
that's a good rule.
We all have our differences, and your opinion about X might be different than my opinion. But I like to use this. I use it with my children, because they fight all the time and like yell at each other. You're wrong. No, you're wrong. And so I just take a piece of paper and I draw 6 on it, and I stand one on one side and one on the other, and I ask them, okay, what do you see? And one says, I see a 6, and the other says, oh, I see a 9. I said, but it's the same thing on the same piece of paper. Nothing changed. Just because you see one thing and he sees the other doesn't mean that you're wrong. You just see differently.
That is brilliant, sir. I am totally going to take that and run with it with my own kids. That's wisdom.
Yes.
I love that.
Please,
absolutely.
Feel free.
Absolutely.
And you brought up go ahead, Chip. Sorry about that.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, he brought up, we've been talking about D&D here for the past few minutes and stuff. I found it very strange because when we start doing conventions, a lot of the conventions that we do have a gaming hall where people can go and play Dungeons and Dragons or whatever D&D type game. I've seen people in there playing Blood Bowl. You know what I mean? So I would walk in because, like I said, as a photographer, I'm taking pictures. I'm not just taking pictures of the celebrity guests or taking pictures of the cosplayers or taking pictures of the vendors, stuff like that. Like, I want to get everything.
Yeah.
I walk into the little room where they're having the DD, and I'm just start taking pictures of everybody. And somebody just blankly stopped what he was doing, looked at me and goes, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm just taking some pictures. I'm with Movement Radio and stuff like that." And he was like, "You guys want to take pictures of this?" I'm like, "Yeah, you guys are just as much a part of this as those people out there wearing the costumes. Yeah, hell yeah, I'm going to take some pictures of you guys because this is part of the fandom. This is part of what makes conventions fun. You can literally, you want to go see celebrities, go see celebrities. You want to dress up in your favorite cosplay. Doesn't matter if you paid $50 or $500. Yeah, wear it.
Absolutely.
You want to go buy some stuff from this vendor who's got this cool AEW action figure that you haven't found in the stores, but this guy's got it. Yeah, you're going to go and you're going to buy that. You're going to go, play D&D. You can do that. Like, it's so like, it took me back because I was like, why do you not know that you're a part of this? Like, why does it shock you? And then he was like, oh, okay, well, hey, everybody get together. So everybody got together in front of
that's awesome.
in front of this thing, and they took a picture for it. I think it was
that's very cool.
I think it was Con Nuga. I think is what it was. This past year it was Con Nuga. This past year, I think. Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm not. I don't play D&D personally, but watching people play it, it's fascinating to me because in my head I'm thinking, how are you that creative to come up with something like make custom campaigns and something like that? That takes a lot of time. That takes a lot of
imagination.
Like, imagination. Yeah. It's crazy.
Well, since we're talking about gaming, I definitely have to throw in the plug for Big Bad Dungeon. That's one of those creative projects that came about from neighbors of the neighborhood studio, where, again, we help aspiring creatives become working creatives. Well, we've got some of the greatest gamers in the world. And David Haddad, our storyteller for season 1, put together this all-star group of gamers and players, and it's a lot of fun. So you can check that out on YouTube. Big Bad Dungeon. Very proud of David. He's now DMing at D&D in a Castle. And he's amazing. He is absolutely one of the best storytellers I've ever known in my life. He directed our short, and then he was also in one of our indie movies that we did as well. And then we've got some other stuff coming up that he's in. I'm really excited about. Big Bad Dungeon, going to be at Shao Con right here. So, by the way, scan that. That's my playlist. So that's the music playlist that we have for Shao Con. I want you guys to hear that. You could play that in the background later on.
Awesome.
But that's going to be a fun con. So that is happening because I'm also a member of the Georgia Game Developers Association and long time, like I said, small business owner, right? But a long time supporter in the community. And gaming leads to coding and high tech skills. Coding and high tech skills lead to high paying careers. Well, with automation taking over 50% of all retail, warehouse, manufacturing, logistics, and military jobs over the next few years.
Yes.
Well, here's the thing. If you don't know how to prompt those engineering questions, you're going to be at the beck and call and mercy, right? Because again, if you're not already going to college, then typically when kids graduate from high school, they go into retail, warehouse, manufacturing, logistics, and military jobs. So especially in Georgia and outside the bubble of Atlanta, we got to get these kids up and running and help them understand gaming it gives you transferable skills, right? That you can actually transfer and get a great job and not just go work at, Walmart making minimum wage and not just go work at whatever manufacturing company that some company moved in for the tax credits and they're not paying the workers a lot to be able to live, right? So again, we got things that we need to do. So Shao Con is a statewide esports tournament. First of all, every 159 counties, we've reached out to 800 high schools, reached out to all the esports teams. And by the way, imagine you've got a bunch of football coaches, basketball coaches, cheerleading coaches who, now they're running the esports team, but they don't know much about it. So we've even got professional guilds who are going to coach these kids up in League of Legends and Hearthstone and coach them up to be able to compete at a state level and national level. The guilds don't mind it because it's a farm system for them. And then this helps the kids immediately ramp up because they soak up this information like a sponge. And then it's also college and job fair and creative expo. Remember my formula about motivate, educate, empower? Yes. Motivate them by getting them to the competition, educate them once they're there about the gaming leads to coding and high-tech skills. Coding and high-tech skills lead to high-paying careers. And then empower them because we're going to have colleges there. We're going to have trade schools there. We're going to have apprenticeships there. We're going to have pro esports teams and leagues there, scouting talent, and college esports teams there, scouting talent to potentially give scholarships because you can get scholarships for gaming in Georgia. So I'm really excited about this. Shao Con, Shao meaning young or hot in terms of Georgia, right? There's MomoCon, which is all about peaches in a con. Well, Georgia Heat is crazy. Well, AWA, Anime Weekend Atlanta, moved to December. They gave us their blessing for Halloween weekend. So we're like, yeah, let's do this thing.
Yes.
So you've got DreamHack at the beginning of the month, ATL happening in the second week. We're Halloween weekend. So it's Carpe cosplay. It's safe, fun, creative, enjoyment, entertainment, excitement. And so it's that whole creative expo of, again, all the people coming together, voice actors, illustrators, authors, content creators, YouTubers, Twitch streamers, podcasters, and streamers. So you guys are going to have to come down 75 and come enjoy yourselves. And it'll be a lot of fun. So Shao Con happening October 24th through the 27th. Check it out, shaocon.com. Thanks for letting me plug that.
Well, we were gonna get to that.
Yeah. But I want to take a step back for just a second.
Yeah, definitely.
You mentioned the neighborhood studio. Explain what the neighborhood studio is.
Yes,
absolutely.
For those who don't know.
Thank you. So for those who don't know, I'm a longtime voice actor and voice coach, and then my wife is also very well known voice talent. She was actually the voice of the Amazon Kindle Fire. She is the most famous AI voice in the world. There was Susan Bennett, who was the voice of Siri and Apple. Well, September Day Carter was the voice of the Amazon Kindle Fire. Now, here's the wild part when we talk about AI. Amazon, or actually GM Voices now Blend, they sold that to Ivona. Ivona got bought by Amazon, and then Amazon started selling that to every company you could imagine. So if you're not paying attention, and then you see this Kaylee doll, which was like a kind of like Siri for kids, it's her voice.
Oh wow!
On what was it? Fox Stars on Mars, the AI robot when somebody came in, that was her voice. Wow. It was on Disney Zombies or something or other. Her voice. When you get upset and you're like, okay, this is getting out of hand, and you call up like Charter Communications or Cable one night there was a storm, the cable went out. Call up Charter. Her voice is the voice of the automated voicemail system. You call up Small Business Administration, her voice is the voice of the SBA. When you call up an entertainment attorney, because you're like, we're not getting paid for any of these voices. Oh, when you turn on a sound bar from ONN, her voice is the voice that says power on, right? So then you call up an entertainment attorney because you're like, we're not getting paid for any of this stuff. Her voice is the voice of the automated voice messaging system. It's crazy, right? So AI was potentially harmful to us. So earlier this year, I was freaked out by it. I was scared. I was terrified of it. But as the studio owner of the neighborhood studio, where again, we are a collective of creatives, I do all things audio, right? So anything audio related, that's me. Anything on camera, I've got other people. If you want to do screenplays, we got other people. You want to do stage combat or stunt choreography for film and TV, we got other people. If you want to do motion capture, we've got that. If you want to do makeup and effects, we've got people for that. But again, it's just a bunch of awesome, fun, goofy, creative nerd types who wanted to come together. And we know a lot of other people that are in the industry. And so we try to put people together. So we're a teaching and production studio, right? You do what it takes. You got to keep the lights on so that way you can make your creative.
Yeah. So, absolutely. Yeah. You kind of touched on it just a second ago, and it's actually a question that I wanted to ask you.
Sure.
And it's kind of, again, in this day and age, it's kind of a serious situation.
Yeah.
The advent of artificial intelligence and AI in the entertainment industry. There's some people who are for it. There's a lot of people who are against it. But what is your personal opinion about the usage of AI in the entertainment industry?
Thank you very much for bringing this up. So again, I actually didn't finish my entire story because, like I said, this has been personally harmful to my family, right? We are missing out on money. And, we've had health issues and all this other stuff going on. My wife isn't working anymore because of chronic illness. So it's a devastating blow to her and to her self-esteem because she hears her voice all the time, but she can't work as much anymore. Right. I mean, think about the agony of that. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's rough. So that was very, very frustrating. And then when the actors went on strike earlier this year, but then they said, okay, you can use AI. Now, from an actor perspective, I was like, oh my God, this is terrifying and scary. I need to look at what I can do to protect myself. So I started checking into what the music industries have done, right, to protect their intellectual property, their voices, all that stuff. So using Veritone and ASCAP and BMI and all that other stuff. But as a studio owner, I have to teach my students how to use these things. I have to know how to use these things because I have to teach others. So I was forced. Now, remember, change is scary when it happens to us. It's good when it comes from us. So because I had to adapt and improvise and change my habits, I discovered 11 Labs. And so I went with them because they seemed to be the most reputable, the most established, and they were paying, right? They were paying the best fair price. Within 3 weeks, I started getting paychecks. Like I show people this stuff all the time, right? Again, this is the, lead by example, practice what I preach. 11 Labs. So I think my first paycheck was like $80. Second one was $200. Third one, I think I got featured as one of the voices. That was $700. Since then, haven't made less than $350 a week. Even this past week, that was like $500. So again, now my case is special, but at the same time, that's because I went all in. So I'm actively producing audiobooks using my own voices and using the voices of the neighbors from the neighborhood studio. So I'm actually keeping the money in the neighborhood pool, right? Like small businesses, you support small businesses, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
By using our voices, we are supporting each other. And remember when I said a rising tide raises all ships before with Sabat? So when I opened up the neighborhood studio, I actually went to Chris Sabat for advice on how to do this, right? Well, with this, people around the world who might not know about the greatness of Bob Carter, they might not be able to afford the real price of Bob Carter, but through 11 Labs, now they have access to me. Now they can use my voices. They can't match the expressiveness of me, right? So if it's voice acting, they got to come to me for that. But if it's just narration, well, I'm making money while I'm asleep. I'm making money while I'm scooping out the cat box. I'm making money while I'm out in the backyard picking up dog poop, but I'm still making money, passive income, right? best of all, and this is the real best part, this is where creatives shine. Remember, when you are imaginative, when you are creative, nobody can keep up with you. So I am using my own voices for my own projects now. And the amount of time it's saving me. All right. Now I'm an amazing voice. I mean, I say that with confidence and
yes,
just established confidence. So I'll make maybe one mistake out of 30 minutes, right? And that's a narration. That's not, that's very minuscule mistakes. With AI doing the narration, it is still reducing the time it takes me to record exponentially, right? So that's given me back not just hours of my life, but like days, weeks, months of my life, because I can now go through these projects that much faster. And then, like I said, a rising tide raises all ships. Now you've got more studios who can be creative because they've got more access to things. It's kind of like when you had the computer that was invented, right? Sure, it might have put out the carbon copy industry, but think about how many more creatives you have now that know how to use Adobe, that know how to use Canva, like real creatives who are creating so many different things. Now, as we learn how to use AI, we're going to be creating that much more. And especially when you have a fast imagination, when you have creativity, you can use this. It's just another tool, just like your cell phone. You can't stop it, so you have to learn how to use it. But the cool part is, once you start using it, you're playing again. And and by the way, that's the other thing too. I use this to help me plan my D&D games. I use this to help me plan my D&D challenges, my traps, making sure that they're balanced, making sure that they're fair. It's a fantastic time saver. It's a fantastic catalyst. It's a fantastic sounding board of just like different ideas that you've got. That's where AI is fantastic. So I always tell everybody, keep one tab open on, let's say, Midjourney, right? Your Discord. Make sure you get the Discord and actually, you don't even need Midjourney anymore. You can do on Bing. You've got access to DALL-E and Copilot, which is surprisingly really good. It uses like the Chat GPT-4 model. So Copilot is really good on the Bing. And then on Chrome, they've got Gemini now. But again, just play. That's the whole point, right? We learn by playing. So play. Do the things that make you happy. If you want to make your own movie, you can create it in a screenplay and I've got ADD, right? But this helps me. Number one, any of those fragments of thoughts that you've got, you can put them into this, and then it will help you flesh those out. Plus, it's a good record of that. In addition to that, it will help you with the format of things, because I am remedial when it comes to a lot of administrative, right? So
yeah.
So in all seriousness, it is AI. It is Chat GPT and Bookle and Copilot that helped me put together the sponsor package and exhibitor package and terms and conditions and the content of Shao Con, where I was able to get my thoughts down on paper and get it organized. And then, of course, an amazing team. But again, I'm an old dog and I'm having to learn new tricks. But I promise you guys, if you play, right, if you use this to help whatever, if it's Warhammer 40K, if it's D&D, if it's Magic, if it's bedtime stories with the kids, whatever you want to come up with, it's there for you, and it's just another tool, right? So don't be afraid of it. You have to learn how to use it, just like a cell phone. It's just another tool. And the cool part is, once you start playing with it, you're gonna love it. So that's how I feel now about AI. Can you believe that? What a story, right?
That's amazing. So most voice actors that we have asked that question to, they're very much against,
of course,
AI,
of course.
And so I tend to agree. If you're using it as a tool to further yourself,
yes,
wonderful.
Yes,
but for studios, whether it be video game, audio book, or whatever, to use it to take Bob Carter and put him on the shelf, I'm against that.
I am too. But you realize we have enough. Just myself, there's enough audio of me clean, by the way, clean straight from the studio. I'm like, how is this up on YouTube where it's that clean, where they could rip my voice if they wanted to and get Metabob 2.0, right, or 3.0, since I've got 2.0 on 11 Labs.
Right.
Right. But in all seriousness, I was terrified this year, because I was watching those videos and I was like, hell no, So I mean, I was absolutely all about the strike, but then when they folded, and it was very frustrating for me, that's when I was like, I have to adapt. I have to improvise. You know, again, I don't have the luxury of just sitting back on my laurels. I've got an 11-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 13-year-old, right? And it's back to school time right now. I've got backpacks that need to be bought and school supplies, and my daughter wants to go see AJR, and like stuff like that. So I've got to work, right? So again, I had to adapt. It's like it's business, right? You have to adapt or die. And thankfully, the neighborhood studio, we are a business. We're a teaching and production studio, and we have been able to survive and thrive, whether it's COVID, whether it's AI, whether it's whatever, it doesn't matter. We have to adapt. And remember, like I said, change is scary when it happens to us, but it's a good thing when it comes from us. So I had to swallow my own pride, get over my fear, take a deep breath, and then say, okay, what can I do differently? I can't keep doing things the same because I'm drowning. I'm dying, right? We're going to lose the house. I mean, I was afraid, right? But in all seriousness, thanks to 11 Labs, I was able to leave my quote unquote 9 to 5 at iHeart and go full time into Shao Con because I fully believe in this, right? I mean, this is blood, sweat, and tears right here.
Yeah.
Right.
And barbecue.
Yeah. Hey, I'm with you there.
Blood, sweat, tears, and barbecue. But in all seriousness, between this and then my own voiceover career and the neighborhood studio and Volunteeros, and actually this is part of Volunteeros, this is what I'm about, right? So I'm able to live my creative life because I now have that cushion of passive income that's actively coming in. And because I'm not waiting on passive income, I'm using my own voices and the voices of the neighborhood for active income. I'm working to expand my income. So I had to change. All I can do is say, take a deep breath and try to make those small changes day by day by day, right? Yeah. Just like trying to live healthy, healthy body, healthy mind, healthy spirit, same concept, right? And game therapy. So again, D&D is vital for mental health. We need that. And and even gaming. At times my games got dark. One of my players was like, man, I can't do this anymore because I'm doing a high level campaign and the players went to the 9 layers of let's just say they went to the 9 levels of the Atazu, right? They're in hell. It gets messy when you go to hell. So
well, I think playing, especially whether it's D&D or whether it's just a regular video game, like I feel like a lot of times, like why do we play The Evil Within? Why do we play these horror games like a Outlast or something like that? Like why do cathartic. We play this? Exactly.
It's cathartic. It's because we need to, first of all, we need to see heroes rise to the occasion. So this is another thing I've learned being the voice of a villain, right? The greater the villain or the greater the evil, the greater the good must rise to overcome that evil. So if I can be the best villain that I can be, right? Shao Con, then by the time that player masters their character enough to be able to beat Shao Con, they have truly improved as a player. And MK9 did not cheat that at all. That's why even to this day, you can go back and play MK9. Man, it's hard to beat Shao Kahn because you can't just one button mash, right? It forces you to grow, to master whatever character you choose to play so that it makes you a better player overall. There are actually pro teams, like pro players, who will go back and play MK9 because, again, the combos, obviously a lot of the combos are universal for other games and other systems and even other MKs, but the timing that you learn, the speed, the reaction time, all of that, the coordination, right? All of that gets sharpened by playing. Again, the greater the villain, the greater the hero must rise to overcome that villain. So that's why when we play these Dead by Dawn games or the racing games or whatever kind of games you're playing, it's cathartic. And we need that because we need to see heroes in our world. We need good guys to win. We need to see people making a difference. We need to see people doing good, right? Whatever that might be, slaying monsters, and it's hard to slay the mortgage. It's hard to slay, like you don't get to see that, right?
Right.
So that's the important thing.
Yeah. I recently, it's been a couple of years ago, but I was really into Hitman. the one that came out for Xbox, for the one
yes.
the one that came out, and it was the trilogy one, right?
Yes,
And I played all the way through it. I died so many times trying to get to that last level, and then when I got to that last level, and I finally, spoiler alert, I shoot the guy in the head. But it was so cathartic to know that I actually got through it. And then I sat back and I reflected on, like, man, I spent literally the last 6 months of my life playing this video game. And then I think to myself, you know what? This game reminds me so much of real life, from not people going around, assassinating people, right, but from the standpoint that's like, you know what? You fail and you fail and you fail, but you got to keep going back to the well. Yes. You got to keep on going, because eventually it could be a satisfying conclusion for you, yes, and that's the one thing that I think video games, and it don't have to be just Hitman. It could be Mortal Kombat. It could be Legends of Zelda. It could be literally any game. Mario.
It could be Animal Crossings. It doesn't have to be bloodthirsty. Right. It doesn't have to be combat, right? It could
exactly.
be, there's any, gaming, like we said, gaming leads to, it's got transferable skills, right? So whether it's, now see, I love PvE. I do not like PvP because it brings out a bad part of me, right? That brings out that, and listen, so the voice of Shao Con is really very much me, and I can be extremely taunting and antagonistic and drive people crazy with that sort of thing, right? Again, I'll tell you that story just in a second. But I personally, Bob Carter, am all about the team to a fault, and that's where I think games shine, because it gives us that chance when we have those people that can come together. When you can play co-op, oh, it's my favorite in the world.
Yes,
it's my absolute favorite in the world. So when you talk about X-Men Ultimate Alliance, back when you had had your 4 players, when you had Halo back in the day, right? And everybody would link up and you had your LAN parties. Oh, it's so much fun. Oh, it's so much fun.
Oh, you unlocked a memory.
Oh God, yes. Oh man, yeah, right. You got people yelling from different parts of the apartments and the apartments when you were like neighbors, right? And you would run the TVs and the cables across the hallway and leave the doors open, and everybody's yelling and laughing and having a good time. That's the kind of stuff. Oh man, those are the best memories of like the 20s ever. All right. But in all seriousness, gaming teaches us so much, right? Because it's a safe way of attacking the world, of viewing the world, of trying to make our way in the world and learning different skills. And we can do that in a way that's semi-safe, right? Where, we're not, it's not going to cost us our lives. It's going to cost, it's a simulation, right? But that's also the important thing too, is we have to learn consequences of our actions. If people learned more about the consequence, if they felt more of the consequences of their actions and more accountability, right? And again, that's where we also need games that teach us compassion, right? Because a lot of times, especially, things get polarizing because you're only hearing blah, 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 blah. I would much rather have a conversation, right? A dialogue between two people, somebody somewhere said, get curious, don't get furious, right? Again, it's like you're
that.
69, like it's what is it where, this person can see the exact same. Well, that's the other thing too. Sometimes we don't see the same facts anymore. Right. That's the other thing is, we got to figure out what is it that they're seeing that we're not seeing, and what is it that we're seeing that they're not hearing, right? Or what is it that we're saying? So it's about effective communication, which again, when you're playing together, right? So that's another reason why I love gaming, like tabletop role-playing games, because it's all about that fun and the camaraderie that makes those lifelong friendships. And then again, it's those skills that you learn, it's the trust that you build, the respect that you have for one another as a team, and the ability to laugh together, right?
Yeah, 100%.
That's universal. That's universal, no matter what culture you're from. I love that. That's my meat and potatoes and ambrosia as a DM. Right? Because again, as a DM, man, we take so much abuse. Oh my God, so much abuse. But especially, we need heroes. I need to see heroes. I need to see people rise to the occasion. So
so you've mentioned a couple times about like being the best villain that you can be when you do these voices. So aside from the voices that you have done, who do you believe is the greatest like villain
Mark Hamill
out
there? Come on. I mean, Mark Hamill, Joker. But wait, let me think. I mean, there are quite a few when I think about this. But immediately Mark Hamill comes to mind. but I actually did think about this a while ago. Oh my gosh, the Kurgan, right? And now he's on SpongeBob. um,
Yes.
Let's see. The best villains. Ooh. Again, the best villains tend to, you know what? From a female perspective, Azula. Come on, man. She was terrifying, right? She had that unhinged style.
Yeah.
I loved Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Best villains. You know what? There's somebody major that I'm forgetting right now, and I'm trying to remember who. Oh God, Thanos.
Thanos. Yeah.
Thanos, Avengers. Come on,
Yeah.
man.
I got one from a video game you may know, Joseph Seed from Far Cry 5. That's a real, because he was like that cult leader, and everybody was scared of him, and he had his kids, doing all to like Charles Manson meets Jim Jones meets David Koresh. Like that to me is, which I'm weird. I'm into that kind of. I mean, I'm not in the occult, but like I like studying weird stuff like that. Like I like studying the occult. I like studying, you know, documentaries about weird different stuff like Waco, Texas, and the Davidians and all this sort of stuff and the conspiracy behind it. I'm sorry, I'm weird. I'm a conspiracy nut. I apologize.
Hey man, we can get all kinds of conspiracy theories. That's
oh,
some
here we go.
Stuff. But, oh, you know what? Here's another new one. Homelander, right? It's the guise of Superman, right? But then he's got that sadistic side to him, right? And man, the series The Boys is wild and crazy. So it's not for everybody. That's not all ages. That is definitely not all ages.
Definitely not all
ages. Not for all ages.
Yeah. But I definitely appreciate Homelander. And then let's see who else.
I mean, Darth
James
Vader.
Earl Jones.
Darth right Vader, there. Right?
Yeah. I said James Earl Jones, and you said Darth Vader at the same time.
Yeah,
so,
man.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So speaking of Homelander, I posted this thing on Facebook on our Movement Radio Facebook page.
All right.
Not too long ago, and it was basically meant to be a thought process.
Okay.
And it questions whether the character of Homelander was written better than the character of Superman.
Ooh.
That's an interesting question.
See, that's a tough one. I'm going to have to say no, and here's why.
Okay.
Homelander is, as twisted and as yearning for love and acceptance and as tragic as that character is, Homelander has only been around for 3 seasons in the series? No, 4 seasons now in the series. And then even in the books, right? The graphic novels, he was only around for, I got them all, 8 years. Superman has been around since the 30s, right? 30s. And they've had to keep reinventing him and reinventing him and reinventing him and reinventing him. And let me tell you something. If it comes between Superman and Batman, I'm Team Superman all the way. Batman is a fascist. I am Team Superman because it is hard to be good all the time. It is very hard to be good all the time. The beauty of Superman, again, his greatest, most amazing thing that I cherish, he represents hope, right? He represents hope, and we need hope. The other one, remember the animated version of Superman where he totally went into the sun and absorbed so much that he was dying, and then and then it turned out when Lex Luthor got his powers that Lex could see the secret behind Superman is that his vision was so super, he could see the connection between all living things. And Lex hated that so much that instead of trying to be good like Superman, he just wanted to break everything. So the fact that Superman can see that we're all connected and that he has never lost that kind of faith, right? And I mean, it wasn't until Doomsday, right, that stuff got ridiculous, and I'm still mad about that. But I mean, I felt that, man. That hurt my heart. You know what I mean? I felt that one. But in all seriousness, it is hard to be good, and especially to do that for 90 years. to not lose faith, to not lose hope. Okay. People call them Boy Scout all the time. Well, guess what? I grew up, I was a Boy Scout. I love the Boy Scouts. I love Scouts, even though it's not Boy Scouts anymore, it's Scouts. I try to encourage Scouts. The values that you learn, from your family, from your extended family, the values are what matter, right?
Yes.
And Superman is a character who is grounded in strong, solid values. And no matter what the times are, he is steadfast, and he represents hope. He represents truth, justice, the American way. He represents the ideals that we aspire to live toward. And I'm on board with that. So there's, like when you talk about cults and stuff like that, yes, I'm cult of Superman.
Okay.
I like that, but what about instances where Superman does turn
snap?
Like an Injustice.
I was going to go for that. Have
you
read the Injustice?
Like Injustice? Yeah.
Yes, because of the way that was written. But again, I mean, that was kind of forced. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Injustice was forced. So again, to be 90 years in, right? And now, see, remember, every generation it gets cool to be edgy, right? It becomes cool to make Superman evil. It becomes cool to do Brightburn. It becomes cool to, again, you know what I mean? Like, instead of Santa Claus, it's Satan Claus. Again, it is hard. Anybody can do evil, right? When we get something, it's easy to destroy. It's much more challenging and difficult to create, right? Which is better, closed fist or an open hand, right? Sure, it's easy to punch, but it's hard to extend that hand in friendship, right? But it's more rewarding ultimately to extend that hand in friendship. Again, together, everyone achieves more. And Superman is all about the team.
I'm right there with you.
The team.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do. And just to speak on Injustice for just a second.
No, I love Injustice too. As long as we're saying this, great.
So I think that the way they wrote it in the instance that made Superman snap, as a father,
yes,
I don't condone. I don't condone it.
But we understand.
I understand it.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. I can't sit here and say I wouldn't think the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But even that, was Superman in Injustice, was he truly evil, or was he doing things that he thought
were right
in that moment were right?
Well, he was certainly vengeful, if anything.
Yeah. Yes, he was.
So does vengeance lead to what it led to in the comics? Or
here's the other
novel,
problem, though. But here's the other problem that they've written themselves into. You can't, it's hard to solve. I mean, violence begets violence, right?
Yep.
And we teach don't use violence, but we're constantly seeing violence as an answer, violence as our superheroes, right? Boom, punch, pow, kick, boom, exploding. Again, it's hard to do the right thing, and it's hard to see when, and this is where, okay, since we're talking about conspiracies, this is where it got really interesting, like the Snyder cut of Justice League versus the garbage of Justice League.
Yeah.
Right. Garbage Justice League was like maybe a 1.5 or a 2. It sucked. It was just, oh my God, it made me angry.
Yes.
It took COVID and CAA, because I mean, that was like multi-billion dollars of franchises that were just dead. And so it took COVID and the talent agency to convince HBO to give it an edit and let them release what they thought they had. And then it turned out,
bless you.
Thank you. It turned out that Cyborg, was actually right. Like, he was like, hey man, they cut out all my parts and everything like that. But that's because the executives did not understand that generations had changed since they grew up as kids. And, Cyborg's been around now since the 80s, the 90s, between Young Justice, Teen Titans, Teen Titans Go, right? I mean, Cyborg has been there the whole time. And now he represents that godlike power of the Justice League, but with regards to technology, right?
Yes.
And I mean, technology is even stronger than Superman and Wonder Woman and Batman. No, Batman has money, so he's got his superpower of wealth. And then, like think about Brainiac, though, right? Brainiac is an amazing villain, But what's even cooler is what Brainiac 6, like, like from in the future.
Yeah.
So Cyborg is a shockingly new demigod, so to speak, right? In terms of like the power levels, because again, when you've got access to all technology, that's crazy,
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Jumping back just a little
Sure,
bit onto the voice acting
yes
portion.
Absolutely.
I've really enjoyed learning about the neighborhood studio and Shao Con and all that. And I want to talk a little more about that. But when did you jump into, so you started kind of with the anime voice acting. When did the video game voice acting come to be?
I actually recorded my first video game before anime. It was right around the same time. Yeah, again, this was when I was in Dallas, and there were some video game companies that were out of Dallas, right, and out of Austin, and so it was all right around 2000, 2001. But again, some of the guys, actually Taliesin Jaffe, right, he came from LA to Dallas, Taliesin from Critical Role. Yeah, so he directed me in a series. And again, some of the guys from Funimation were going out to LA, and then when there were opportunities to audition for different jobs, that's actually how I ended up getting the opportunity to audition for Balrog from Street Fighter, right? And so imagine Mortal Kombat and then Street Fighter, right? Two of the greatest fighting games of all time. Yeah. Now the cool thing is, legitimately, I had to audition among hundreds of people all over the country, but to actually book that was very, very special. And then again, when you record certain voices and characters, like when you're, motion creates emotion. And when I was going through the lines and feeling the dialogue, I was like, oh man, this is going to be strong. This is going to be powerful.
Yeah.
So
is there a certain video game that you would like to be a part of in terms of your voice? Is there a certain one that maybe stands out to you? It's like, man, I would love to. Yeah. Or maybe something, or maybe an idea for later.
Sure. I mean, MK1, honestly, I would have loved to have been General Shao in this one. I just, like, again, they could have gone with any deep voiced guy. I wish they just hadn't used that processed filtered voice on it. But I didn't do MK1 because I was working on Asgard's Wrath 2, which was amazing.
Right.
By the way, not everybody knows this. Remember when you first played Halo and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the reason to buy the Xbox, right? Yes. I mean, it was like mind blowing.
Right.
That's how beautiful Asgard's Wrath 2 is. It is the reason to buy the MetaQuest 3. It is amazing. It is such an incredible game. Just watch it. Just watch it on YouTube. It's amazing.
Yeah. Awesome.
Oh my God, it's so immersive. It's incredible. It's like Halo, but being in Halo, like that kind of immersive feeling, right?
Awesome.
Oh yeah. So I wasn't in MK because I was doing Asgard's Wrath 2. And then thankfully I've got some other games that I've recorded and that are coming out and all that other fun stuff too. Yeah. So
you don't have to break any NDAs. It's okay. Right. You don't have to break any NDAs. We appreciate it.
So kind of a two-part question, and it's all revolving around your voice.
Okay.
Of all the voices that you do, right?
Yes.
Which would you say is kind of the easiest for you to accomplish?
Okay.
And I'm going to assume it's your more natural tone.
Yes. Yeah. So the easiest without question was Shao Con. Honestly, I mean, you can hear it right now, right? It's just it's this. In all seriousness, this is how the voice of Shao Con came about. So, you know how you've got your best friend, your cousin, your brother, the person you play video games with. You guys asked me if I was a gamer. Yeah, we would game. So for me, that person was Bill, and we had been playing Soul Calibur all like one Saturday afternoon, all day long, and I was crushing him. You know, like when one of you like finally gets better, you suddenly start just destroying the other one for a weekend until they get better. Okay.
Yeah.
I was destroying him. 12 matches to none, right? 12 to none. The 13th match, playing Lee Long, knock him off the raft with the nunchucks. He goes sailing. And that's where the it's official, you suck, came from. He got so mad, he took my PlayStation controller, smashed it into the floor. Now imagine how mad you got to be to smash somebody's PlayStation controller into the carpeted floor, shattering it. Right?
Oh my God.
Oh, exactly. Right? Again, he was pissed, right? He was
bet.
Oh yeah. Again, like I said, when it comes to PvP, man, I talk trash and I can back it up. So I don't do that anymore because I don't like to do that anymore. It brings out a bad part of me, right? So now, so when I got the opportunity to go in and record for Shao Con, I knew I needed to bring a certain level of antagonism to that character. And that's why I knew I had to channel that level of antagonism that would make people rage quit, that would drive them insane to the point where they would cry, to the point where they were just like going nuts until they finally beat Shao Kahn. Because again, the greater the villain, the greater the hero must rise to overcome that villain. And when they finally did, again, it's like that life achievement unlocked, right? Like when you run the gauntlet in Halo and you hear the music and you close your eyes, you'll always remember that. Same thing. If you're playing MK9, you're always going to remember what it was like when you heard Shao Kahn taunting you and then you finally beat him and you're like, yes. And it's that life achievement unlocked, right? That kind of thing. So that's where the easiest voice ever. Hardest voice I've ever had to do.
That was where I was going next. The hardest, it's kind of a multi-layered question.
Okay.
It's the hardest to sustain over a longer recording session.
Yes. Bojack from Dragon Ball Z. Okay. So even Sin Shinron, I thoroughly enjoy, but Bojack. Now, what's amazing is Bojack Unbound is the one Dragon Ball movie that's actually in canon. But more importantly, there are only 6 actual lines of dialogue. It's it, 6 actual lines of dialogue. The rest of the movie is all yells, kicks, punches, power-ups, unleashing energies. It is insane, right? And when I've done video games, same thing. There's some great dialogue, but it's yells, kicks, power-ups, energy unleashed. And so that has left my voice hoarse for 3 days afterwards.
Oh, wow.
Now, one of the most difficult voices I've ever had to do was actually Seabeer the Mighty in Eden Zero. So if you watch that on Netflix, episodes like 4 and 5, that was one of the hardest roles I've ever had because I love my daughters. I've got 2 girls and a son, right? I got 13, 12, and 11. I love my kids. And Seabeer the Mighty abuses this little female robot, and it is harsh. And I felt so bad that after I finished recording, I went into my daughter's bedroom, sat on the floor, and just made them hug me for 5 minutes while I was like trying to wipe away tears. So yeah, but again, the greater the villain, the greater the hero must rise to overcome that. You feel that, right? So you can watch that. It's a simple 2-episode arc. And again, Seabeer is a dick. And so when they finally beat him, it's amazing. So it's really good.
Yes. Awesome, man. Awesome.
Yeah. And some JoJo. That's all. I don't talk about that either. Additional voices.
Yeah. So just to jump back to Shao Con.
Yes.
For a second.
Yeah, happy to.
The big convention that you have coming up in October.
Yes.
What kind of inspired you to create this deal?
We have done cons for years, and it's always if I was going to do a con, what would I do to make it different, right? So again, I also have my own formulas, right? Motivate, educate, empower. And so I didn't just want to have just a simple con, even down to the way that the panels are. It's not just your typical go in, sit in a panel, and it's 45 minutes or 50 minutes of, oh, it's awesome to be me, blah, blah, blah. I'm a voice actor. I don't want that. I do not want that. What I've done, I have gotten voice actors who are also voice directors working in the industry. So that way, when they're in their panels, I'm going to give them 10 to 15 minutes of introduction. But then it's like Fight Club. There are 2 microphones in the room, And when people register for this and they're in that panel, their names are going to get called at random, and they're going to come down to the microphones, and they're going to have to cold read a couple of scripts. Now, here's the cool part. The people that are coming down and they read these scripts, they have a chance to perform and get discovered by somebody who can hire them and change their lives, right? Change their trajectory as a voice actor forever. Or if it's a sound designer, or if it's a screenplay writer, or if it's an author, right? They've got a chance to actually, again, break through that bubble of busy where you don't normally get that kind of access to these people. It's a chance for the people at the table to showcase why they're experts, what they bring, what makes them so acutely aware of the nuances and what makes them successful. And it's a chance for everybody just sitting in the audience to listen in on an actual directed session. So that's the cool part right there. And then we've got the level up sessions happening on Sunday, where if you wanted to, you could do small group level ups for like $150, and you can get like an hour to an hour and a half with whoever that person is that you wanted to learn from. So you could potentially, again, break through their bubble of busy, right? You know, we all have that bubble of busy as we get older. Right. And so if these people are coming in from other parts of the country for this, and it's a real industry talk, right? Again, we've got a lot of different views when it comes to AI. And I promise you, a lot of authors and illustrators and comic book artists, I mean, they are salty, right? Dude, rock, paper, scissors from Corridor Digital, that was like dropping a bomb in the animation industry, right? In terms of like using the Castlevania style art. And then of course, you know, people showing how AI is learning and how it's modeling from their own art, you know, but then you get it, and you know what, again, there's going to be a lot of discussion happening, plus a lot of cosplay, and then also a lot of fun. So picture Enter the Dragon meets Cobra Kai meets Big Trouble in Little China.
I'm there. You know what I'm saying?
So I'm going to have, it's gaming, art, music, and entertainment. I'm going to have the Chin Hong School of Kung Fu doing a lion dance, Bujinkan Ryu Dojo of Dunwoody doing a ninjutsu demonstration and weapons forms all weekend. The 501st is going to have the Saber Guild there doing a lightsaber duel. I'm going to have musicians there, nerdcore, rockers, rappers, artists. I'm also, like I said, I'm going to do an artsibition. Actually, I'm calling it Heroes and Villains Artsibition.
Nice.
Again, it's showcasing art, right? Whether you're using AI, whether you're using your own tools, whatever tools you have at your disposal. The purpose of this is to be active. It's not just about sitting back and listening. I want people being active, because it's by doing things that we actually learn, right? And then again, motivate, educate, empower. Motivate everybody with the party. Once they're there, educate them about the opportunities that are available for them and for the families that are with them, to open and expand their minds, because a lot of them won't know about this, right? They don't know about the opportunities that are available for this. You know, they're up in North Georgia working, you know, 10 hours a day, busting their hump, you know, dealing with a lot of stressful issues. And so this is a chance for them to kind of unwind and you know, learn something, pour a little something into them, right? Creatively, and also with knowledge, and then actually put that to use, because that's the other thing, right? It's about that call to action and about being proactive rather than reactive. And so it's through the competition leads to collaboration and cooperation, right? We're having fun with the competition side, but it's ultimately about, again, bringing everybody together and raising everybody up.
So basically, it's a convention mixed with a workshop, mixed with possible auditions, mixed with possible. It's basically an amalgamation of everything all under one roof, basically.
Yes, it is. So listen, I grew up with Dragon Con, right? So I love that amalgamation of different cultures that come together for Labor Day weekend that makes Dragon Con so unique, right? Where it's all organic. Where it's everything from SEC, ACC kickoff, Black Gay Pride, NASCAR, Braves, Falcons, and of course, Dragon Con, and even the World Literary Festival of Decatur, right? You get all these different types of cultures coming into Atlanta, Labor Day weekend, and everybody gets along. It's crazy, right? But then, again, there's so much to see and do with Dragon Con. It's an opportunity. Again, it's that creative spark. So with Shao Con, I want that creative spark just by getting all these people in. Right. And so by having interesting things that you're not necessarily going to see, but that go on, you know, dude, Atlanta's sports team sucked for so long. So it forced us.
Yes.
Right. So it forced us to develop other interests, right? In terms of music, in terms of food, in terms of culture, in terms of gaming, in terms of geekdom. So it forced us to be multifaceted. And now that our teams are great, we can still be geeks and fun and bring it all together. And so that's what Shao Con is supposed to be about. It's about sparking curiosity, not just in the bubble of esports players, but expanding that so that people all over the state, from Savannah to Rome to Dahlonega, all the way down to what's in Southwest Georgia, like Waycross, right?
Norcross, Flowery Branch, Warner Robins.
Yes, but I mean,
keep
really,
on going down.
Exactly. But I'm talking like again, it's all across the state can come together.
Yeah,
in a fun, safe place, not the craziness of Atlanta downtown, but 85 in Claremont, right there at Century Center Marriott. And so it'll, it's a fun, great way to showcase I don't even want to call it diversity, the inclusivity of Atlanta, right? I mean, like everything from like the Greek Orthodox temples. And again, we got dude, who knew that we had a Brazilian capoeira rota that gets together on like summer nights in Decatur Square, and it's really cool. Or like,
oh wow, I did not know that.
Girls. Right. I know a lot of people don't know about stuff like that, but it's that cool stuff that's like that underground Atlanta vibe. That's what I want to bring people together for. And then also like improv D&D, Funyuns and Flagons. Who else do we have coming up there? John Bailey from Honest Trailers. He's hilarious. Ooh. Chris Bevins, Chris George, DC Douglas. Got a bunch of content creators, cosplayers, amazing cosplayers. Yaliz, MH Designs out of Miami. We got cosplayers from Greenville, from Spartanburg, from Charlotte, from Knoxville, Chattanooga. I mean, like I said, we're bringing them all together from all over the Southeast. And so, again, I've learned from all these other cons that I've been a part of over the years. MomoCon blew up because of esports combined with cosplay, right? AWA for years has been amazing. But when they moved to December, they gave us their blessing for Halloween weekend. So I have to, right? I got to take that and run with it. And then in addition to that, like I said, bringing people together, because I am passionate about helping people. I want people to leave feeling better, feeling smarter, feeling charged up, and excited about what's to come.
That's awesome.
You are a national treasure. Thank you so much for putting this together, dude. That's amazing, dude.
Thank you, guys.
So, if anybody wanted to follow Bob Carter, the Neighborhood Network, Shao Con,
absolutely,
where do they go?
Yes, Carter Game on Instagram. Please like and subscribe. Check out Big Bad Dungeon on YouTube as well. You can see some of our creative efforts. The MNYPD. Like I said, that's the one that's the audio drama, that film noir, dark kind of audio drama. The MNYPD. The Neighborhood Studio Atlanta. NeighborhoodStudioAtlanta.com. And all things Carter Game. That's me. So if it's for voiceover, it's Carter Game. If it's for the Neighborhood Studio, you got me there. If it's for Shao Con, ShaoCon.com, ShaoCon.com. And I mean, come on. I mean, with that name, I had to, right? I mean, come on.
Exactly.
So good.
Exactly. And we will put everything in the description of this video so that everybody can follow it.
And come on down. And please come down. I want you guys to do this live from there.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invitation.
Please
absolutely.
Yes.
So besides Shao Con,
yes,
is there anything else you got coming up?
Yes.
Again, no NDA spoilers or anything like that.
Sure.
Things we'll talk about, but is there anything coming up that you're excited about that you want to let people know?
So let's see. This next weekend, I'm actually going to be in North Carolina for family emergency stuff. The weekend after that, though, I'm going to be in Lake City, South Carolina. They're having an esports tournament and a convention of their own. So they're trying to get that off the ground. And again, I'm a big believer in supporting the community. So I'm definitely going to be there showing up for South Carolina. And then Dragon Con, that's coming up Labor Day weekend.
Yes.
And then also, again, after Labor Day, that's where, I mean, we're 86 days, 10 hours from Shao Con. So things are cranking. I mean, we are actively, by the way, we welcome all sponsors and exhibitors if you want. I mean, you got access to 12 to 32-year-olds eyeballs, and it's going to be like what we were expecting, about 8,500 players and their families, and about 3,500 creatives from all over the country. So yeah, it'll be a good time, man. It'll be a really good time. And then in addition to that, we've got InnovATL and DreamHack happening as well. The Neighborhood Studio. So we got a horror short that's underway. Got some stuff that we're writing on right now. I've got 3 video games in production as well. So we got the Georgia Game Developers Association and Siege. That's another thing for anybody who is young and wanting to create. I absolutely urge you, join a writers group, join cosplay, join any number of things. Well, yes, thank you, Polo. And then there's Polo right there. Yes. So yes. Polo's telling me it's time. So in this case, thank you, buddy. Yes, I love you too. So in all seriousness, we are excited. We encourage game jams. We encourage 48-hour film festivals. Again, creatives need to create. Don't just sit back and think about what you would want to do. Actively do it. Actively do it, and use ChatGPT to help you write it up and then send it out. All right.
So Bob, yeah. I was once told that the greatest gift another person can share is their time. And I greatly appreciate you sharing your time with us this evening.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely, man. We definitely appreciate it. If you want to hang out with us for just one more minute while we pay some bills, thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. We really do appreciate you guys listening. Bob, once again, thank you for joining us. We really do appreciate it. And thank you guys for watching. Chip, anything you want to say before we get out here this evening?
As always, please do not leave without leaving a like, comment, share, and subscribe on Spotify and right here on YouTube.
And if you want to continue to support Movement Radio, we want to send you over to I just lost train of thought here. I apologize. Thank you guys for the love and support. You guys, thank you. Streamlabs.com/Movement Radio /merch, and go copy some merch. We have, our My Hero Academia inspired merch, our Dragon Ball Z inspired merch, the old school logo, the new school logo, and we may do a couple of more logos coming soon. We got some ideas in the brain. We just got to let them roll around and, collect dust for a couple of years. But anyway, that being said, again, thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. Bob, thank you for tuning in, or thank you for joining us. We appreciate you guys. This guy voiced Baraka, okay? I'm happy. I'm excited, okay?
You overreach your station, Athenian. For the honor of Tarkat. Yeah.
Yes, I am happy now. I'm happy now. Thank you guys for watching. Again, check out Movement. Check it again. My name is Talon Williams.
Check out Movement Radio.
Yes.
I am Chip Hazard.
That's is Talon Bob Williams, Carter. And I'm Bob Carter. And this is Polo, and that's Jack.
And this is Movement Radio.
God bless.